This is Living by the Book, gleaning truth from scriptures, guides to understanding the Bible. I am your regular host, Dr. D.T. John. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Last week, we struck on a very germane point on why people don't study or read the scriptures. We discussed the issue of the problem of relevance, that people doubt it, whether the Bible is relevant to the modern day Christians. But we opine the fact that despite the fact that people thought that Bible is not relevant to the modern day, we said the scriptures is very relevant to every areas of our life. And therefore, we concluded by admonishing people the necessity of reading and studying the scripture, because the scriptures actually point to the fact that we should read the scriptures, we should study the scriptures. And since the Bible has commanded us such, onus lies on us to obey the voice of our Maker. And I do hope that since last week, you have started to peruse on the pages of the scriptures. God bless you as you do so. In today's episode, we would like to continue on the opinions of people. The second opinion of people as to why people don't study the scriptures, as to the reason why people don't read the scriptures, is the problems of technique. The problems of technique. That is, not knowing how to. Not knowing how to. This is very common. People are reluctant getting into the scriptures because they don't know the technique. They don't know the methodology. They don't know the how do I go about reading the scriptures. Friends, I like to tell you a personal thing that happened to me several years ago. The Christians Association were doing a book fair in Kaduna then, several years ago. And I got to this fair and I needed to get one of the two serious tool of studying the scriptures. And I got a concordance. A concordance. A concordance is an exhaustive concordance that has every word written in the scriptures from Genesis to Revelation. And you know that concordances are, something very necessary tools for Christians. Concordance are translation sensitive. In other words, if you are doing a KJV, you need to have a KJV concordance. If you are doing an NIV, you ought to have an NIV concordance. So this time around, it was a KJV concordance and I saw. And it was 1,500 naira as at that time, almost about 1999. And I didn't have the money. So I got to see a friend who works in the bank. And I told him, sir, please, can you just bless me with this little amount of money to be able to buy this concordance? And he said, how relevant is the tool? I said, it's very relevant. So he gave me 3,000. I bought two. One for him and one for me. And I began to use my own. Almost about 1 year plus, I just visited his house one afternoon and we got discussing about that two concordance. And they brought it out, still unwrapped. Well, I said, aren't you using it? He said, I just bought it, but I don't know how to use it. That's the problem of technique we are talking about. Several people have these tools by which Bible can be studied. but they don't know how to do it. So the problem of techniques sometimes chase away people from getting into the scripture for themselves. Furthermore, the contemporary Christian has become virtually oriented to the extent of losing the ability to read. People don't have the ability to read today because we are virtually oriented. I love what I read in the script, in the book, Once Upon a Time, and an American was indicting an African Christian. He said, if you want to hide something from an African man, put it in a book. Can you hear that? That's an insult to African. But it is the truth. It is the truth. Because we are virtually oriented. We don't read. So the Americans say, if you want to hide anything from an African man, put it in a book. He will not read it. But if you want an African to know something, he say, hack it. Put it in the television. You know, people can sit behind the tube this time around, watch several series, part 1, part 2, part 3, but they can't just read 2 chapters of the scriptures in a row. They will be tired. So the contemporary Christians has become virtually oriented to the extent of losing the ability to read. One of the things that God will be teaching us through this series is to know how to read. Because if you don't know how to read, if you don't know the method to use, to employ in reading, you cannot get anything substantial from the scriptures. The problems of the techniques can be demystified. That is exactly why we are doing this series. So the second problem we are looking at, why people don't study the scriptures, is the problems of technique, not knowing how to. And people don't know how to because modern Christianity is virtually oriented to the extent of losing the ability to read. Maybe that's your problem. Maybe that's why you are not reading the scriptures. Maybe that's why you are not studying the scriptures. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to think about this seriously. I will come your way again in the next episode as we look at another vital opinion why people don't study the scriptures. So until I come your way again, I'm your regular host, Dr. D.T. John. Thank you. This is Living by the Book, gleaning truth from scriptures, guides to understanding the Bible. I am your regular host, Dr. D.T. John.